Hey guys, this episode today is brought to you by our good friends at Fetch Rewards. What is Fetch Rewards? It is an awesome app that's available on Google Play and the App Store. Download it today and check it out. Guys, as you can see, I'm out and about. And when I'm always out and about, busy with errands, busy with food shopping, whatever, right? I always make sure that the Fetch Rewards app is active on my phone. Next time you're out and about, save that receipt, because that receipt will give you rewards on things like Amazon gift cards, Walmart gift cards, movie tickets, sporting event tickets, and so much more. Download Fetch Rewards on the App Store and Google Play and check them out today, guys.
Rated mature audiences only. Viewer discretion is advised. Broadcasting from the Big Peach of Atlanta, Georgia. A show unfiltered, unscripted, raw. The Patriot Angle Podcast. All right, guys, welcome to the beginning of the week. Happy Monday, guys. This podcast is going to be a little different than my normal political podcast that I normally do. I want to basically start off with basically the life of me. A lot of my listeners and followers on social media are always questioning, like, how I got into the business, how I got into podcasting. Well, guys, let me start off with the beginning of my life, okay? And just to let everybody know, this is going to be two parts. Tonight will be part one of this episode, and then the following couple days later will be episode two. Going to have a podcast this Wednesday. So that will continue to tonight's episode. I have to do it in two parts because, you know, it's going to be a big episode. So with that being said, let's start off with the beginning on just like how I started into this crazy world, because I never imagined doing this type of stuff: podcasting, talk radio, political radio, whatever you want to call it, right? Mainly a lot of people call it podcast today. The old school name of it was, just people going on terrestrial radio, which was, FM or AM, right? It would be like, just for example, like 92.4 AM or, 1082 AM, or you get the point, right? I hope, a lot of the kids that are born after, the mid to late 90s are probably like questioning me, like, what? Yes. To listen to people, folks, you would have to go on the radio, right? To listen to your favorite morning jockey or, afternoon DJ, right? That was the thing back then. Now it's like you can listen to just about everybody anytime during the day, which is great, guys. I mean, you want to, listen to your favorite podcast. It's always there. It's saved on an app, whether it's Spotify, it's Google, it's Apple, thousands upon thousands of apps out there that just, have these different types of podcast hosts launch their product and their content on there. It's great, guys. So much opportunities. Ping on that one. Thank you very much. But I want to start off with basically, as early as I can remember, as early as, 5 years old, growing up in the Northeast, up in New Jersey, where I'm originally from, right? Waking up every morning, going to, grade school, which, guys, I think that was the most best of times to live in, right? Back in the mid to late 80s, right? It was great, guys. Growing up in the late 80s, early 90s, going to grade school, it was awesome, right? My favorite time going to school was, during the winter time when it snowed, me and my buddies would, we would gather up in the morning just after we had our hot cocoa or, our favorite breakfast in the morning, which back in the day, guys, families, that was the thing, mom and dad getting ready for their work day, getting us together, going to school. And it was just a normal routine. It was a normal routine, guys. I remember, waking up in the morning, right? Having my cereal with my milk, right? Or French toast or eggs. That was a quick little thing. My mother would always whip up like the quickest breakfast in the morning, and then we would be on our way to go to school. And my friends would always meet us, okay? Yeah, my friends would always meet us on the corner of the street. Of course, my mother and father, they never worried about us kids back then, with the neighborhood kids, because society was a lot different today. Well, at least I remember it was a lot different then than it is now. Now you have a bunch of nut jobs walking around, and there's so much violence and social media division. It's altogether different now, guys. But back then was the good old days, I called it, right? And now I remember, like, why my grandparents even used that term, the good old days, because now that I'm getting older, I completely understand what that term was meant for. But, we would go to school, guys. That was the thing, like shuffling through the snow, trying to get to the bus, and that was fun. Fast forward a couple years later, I remember now, okay, I'm now beginning to go into middle school, right? Middle school was awesome. It was different. It was different from grade school because, the classes the classes got harder. There was different types of topics being taught. We were learning a little bit more about world history and how the country came together as a nation. Things that you're supposed to be taught, right, as a child, or at least the things that I thought we were supposed to be taught as a child. And that was the thing, right? It was great. It was great. I remember just going to school, really appreciating what was being taught to me. I mean, a lot of people are like, what, you like school, Mike? I love school. I could actually tell you my favorite subjects in school. One, when I was in middle school, I loved world history. I loved to know about different cultures. I loved to know about, how they reacted. Because every culture, folks, is a lot different. Well, we kind of see that in today's society. But I'm going to label that for part 2 later in this week. I don't want to skip, guys. I'm known to skip sometimes. It's okay. But I want to get into what I enjoyed. I enjoyed world history. It was like a high for me. I got such a high from learning world history. I loved it. I loved the culture. I love even the history that was being taught about the United States during that time, which was around 6th grade. I remember my teacher like it was yesterday, Mr. Adams. Right? Mr. Adams would always ask one of us in the class if anybody would like to volunteer to go to the board. And that was like a weekly thing, guys. A weekly thing that Mr. Adams would always ask one of us in the classroom who would like to volunteer to use the chalkboard. And I love that. That was my favorite time during that class. Of course, I had other subjects that I enjoyed in middle school. I enjoyed gym. I loved gym. Gym was awesome. It was a time when we all got together, me and my buddies, and we would try to outshine all the other the other groups, right? It was competition for me. It really was. And I think the teachers really appreciated it too.
All I want for you is to find the same joy and happiness that you have given me, no matter where it comes from.
Hulu TV.
So do you like it?
Freelancing? I love it. I get to set my own schedule and always working on different projects.
Yeah, your car was declined.
Oh.
Oh, I can get it.
No worries. I got this.
At Lilly, we know how freelancing works, so while you wait for your clients to pay you, we'll cover your overdraft up to $200 for free.
Try it now.
Good to go, man.
My man.
Take care, bro.
Lilly, banking designed for freelancers.
What did you just do?
So basically, I mean, that just kind of boils down like, my first, I want to say what, 4, 5, 6 years of schooling. I loved it, guys. Loved it. Now let's fast forward a little bit more, right? We're getting into high school years now, right? So the world is pretty much opening up to me a little bit. I'm starting getting into interest, and I could tell you right now, podcasting, I mean, it didn't exist then, right? There was no such thing as podcasting then. So where was my interest level then? Interest level, guys, was women. I loved them. I don't know. I guess the girls, the women stage started to open up for me. I got to go on some dates. Now, mind you, I'm a freshman in high school, guys, right? So there's a lot of peer pressure going, into my life, from different groups. You had the nerds, you had the geeks, you had the, the talent squad, you had the jocks, you had all these different groups in school, right? So, and trust me, guys, I was pretty much in every group of high school. I definitely stood out. I think I definitely stood out. So I definitely was in just about every group. Now, mind you, I'm trying to fit in as best as I can possibly fit in, right? I was a little nerdy. I'll admit, I was nerdy. Was kind of like entertaining, which was good too. I mean, I wanted to be entertaining, right? I wanted the people to like me, right? I wanted to be, I don't think I wanted to be popular. I just wanted people to like me. I wanted the people to understand like who I was, right? I mean, I'm this kid in high school, and I wanted the people to be like, hey, I can be that badass too, right? So things were like, okay, I'm transitioning from middle school into high school. Things are different now. It's a different world, right? So, I'm in high school, right? And I'm trying different things. And I can tell you guys, this is the first time where I was introduced to cigarettes. And I was like, I don't know, right? So I remember this one kid. I can remember it like it was yesterday, guys. This freaking kid, his name was Richard, okay? And Richard came up to me, and Richard was like, hey, man, you got to try this cigarette. And I was like, dude, I don't know, man. I don't know if I should try that. Like, can it kill you? He's like, if it can kill you, then why they sell it, right? Typical peer pressure stuff, right, in high school. So what did I do? I tried the cigarette, right? And I'm trying not to cough, right? I'm trying to be cool, I was trying not to, like, embarrass myself, because I wanted to make friends. I mean, who doesn't want to make friends in high school? I think that's every kid's mission in high school, to make friends, right? So I wanted to make friends with this kid Richard, which seemed to be like the most popular kid that stood out in the whole high school, right? I think he was like the leader of the high school, right? If that's a thing, right? He was like the leader of the high school, right? He was like the top-notch guy. So I wanted to be friends with Richard. So I was like, oh, sorry, man. You know, I think the wind got to me or something. I made up something silly, right? Something where he would believe me. And it actually worked. And I'm like, huh. So I got to meet my first friend, Richard. And I could tell you a little bit more into the story here, where the story goes with Richard, right? You know, that's coming, guys, in the episode. You want to stay tuned to that one part. So, you know, I'm talking to Richard, and me and Richard, you know, we become friends like instantly, right? That's my best buddy, right? So me and Richard are walking around school, right, with our jackets kind of slug a little bit, right? Because that was like the thing back then. Does everybody remember? I don't know if anybody's, you know, tuning in around my age, you know, because I'm currently, 39 now. But if anybody's my age, does anybody remember the big puffy jackets, right? The bomber jackets. I think they called them bomber jackets or puffy jackets. Either or. Right? Does anybody remember that? Some of them made sports teams out of it, like, you know, different colors. Like, if you were like a Miami Dolphins fan, like it would be like the green and, you know, the orange colors and stuff like that. And they had this little flab in the front, like a pocket, and that was cool. You know, I had my first jacket then, which was a New England Patriot jacket. And I can remember it, you know, like walking around with my New England Patriot jacket. And it was a thing, man. Everybody wore that stuff. It was style, right? You wore your jacket, and then you would wear these big pants. They call them parachute pants. It was a big thing during the Vanilla Ice era. You know, everybody wore them. It usually covered your feet. So it looked like you were like hovering around like on a spaceship or something. It was funny. But that was the thing, man. That was like what we wore back then. So I was wearing my puffy jacket. I was wearing my big, you know, pants that hovered over my my shoes, and it was the thing, man. You know, I can remember it like it was yesterday. You know, and we're walking around school, and we're trying to, like, you know, we're trying to pick up friends, but we're trying not to make any enemies because we really didn't know anybody. I mean, you got this kid coming in. And I didn't know him. He didn't come from the last school. I think he came from another town or something, because I don't remember seeing Richard in any of the schools I went to. So me and Richard are just walking around, trying to make friends, trying to make no enemies whatsoever. And if we made enemies, that was cool, you know, because we felt like, hey, we're tough, you know, like, fuck off, right, type of shit. But, you know, this was a big thing. Cigarettes, cussing, and acting like a badass. That was high school. Right? Or at least I think that was what high school was supposed to be about. So we're walking around, and then all of a sudden, we meet this girl. Okay? Her name is Corinne. And Corinne, oh man, she was like the popular girl in school. There was other popular girls too. You know, I can remember her like it was yesterday. I still talk to her to this day, by the way. But not as much. But, you know, him and we had like this crush on her. And there was other girls too. There was always other girls, right? Girls came and go when you were in high school. Relationships never lasted. They always came and go. They came, gone, and you get another one. So we were chasing around this girl for weeks. And then we find out that she has a boyfriend. We were like, oh, bummer. So we found, you know, we wanted to walk around and find another girl. And we were doing this for weeks. Weeks. It was like a little, like, secret thing that we were doing. And then we were introduced to football texting. Now, does anybody remember that, or does anybody know what that was? If you guys don't know what that is, that's okay. The people that are going to know, like, what I'm talking about are people, like, normally about over the age of 30 right now. Possibly 33. Okay, this was, like, the original form of texting. It was awesome. Like, you made these little notes, and you folded them like little footballs. And you passed them around to... That's why we made them into footballs, because we can, like, flick it with our finger to the person that we liked, to the person that we were trying to talk to. And that was the original texting. And I loved it. Until we got in trouble. And the teachers didn't like it. so much. But that was the thing, man. That was the thing in high school. High school was cool for me. It was a new world. I enjoyed it. Patriot Angle Podcast. Unfiltered. Unscripted. Michael Gardner, a host like no other. Hey guys, if you guys are looking for any past or future current episode, such as the one that we're on right now, you can always go to Spotify, Google, or Apple Podcasts. Search the Patriot Angle Podcast, and we'll pop right up in the search bar, guys. Whether you're using Google Chrome or any other browser, it'll pop right up. Download the Spotify, Google, or Apple Podcast and follow me for up-to-date episodes. As soon as they launch, make sure you have the bell location set so you can get current, up-to-date episodes as they launch, guys. Okay? Also, too, guys, you can check out our website, patriotanglepodcast.com, as well as our social media platforms on Instagram, Patriot_Angle_Unfiltered. You can check out our Facebook page, Patriot Angle Podcast, for all exclusive content. All the content that we say on the show, guys, more or less is uploaded on our social media platforms. So you want to check that out. Follow me on Instagram. Follow me on Facebook, guys. You want to continue to hear this podcast, please share it with 5 friends and have 5 friends share it as well. You can also join our group page on Facebook. That's right, guys. We've got a group page. Patriot Unfiltered Nation, guys. Join it. It's a free group. We don't ask for a dime. Hey, guys, back to the show here. So, I'm talking about, like, my high school days, right? Like, what it meant for me as a high school kid, I think those were the best days of my life so far, right? I mean, I made a lot of friends, lost a lot of friends. Some of the friends I had in high school, I don't really talk to, don't even know where the hell they are. I mean, I didn't mean to have it like that. It's just, like, they kind of faded away. As usually sometimes friends do, they fade away, right? So, like, it happened. They came and gone, right? Some of the friends I still have to this day, 20 plus years. God, we're like almost like family members now. But, I enjoyed high school. I enjoyed the subjects, which I'm going to tell you right now, I barely got through high school. I remember failing a lot of different subjects. Did terrible in math. Still don't know algebra to this day. But who the hell uses algebra, right? I mean, basic adding and subtracting, right? Well, that was my attitude in high school. It still is to this day. I still don't know how to use fractions or algebra. Well, at least I could be a man and admit to it, right? On a podcast show. But back to high school, guys. I remember the most fun, crazy times that I had in high school. I remember skipping school. Oh boy, that was great. I would skip school with my new best buddy, Lauren. Me and Lauren were like pen pals at school. We would skip school. We would go in her car. And see, Lauren was like a year older than me. So she had the car, right? So we would go to like Burger King and, we would just skip out. Now, people were like, why are you skipping out on lunch? Well, have you seen what they served in lunch? Or at least what they served back then. I don't know if it's different now. Now, you got to remember, guys, this was like over 20 years ago, 25 years ago almost now. So I'm sure school lunches have changed over the course of years. But back then, we were teenagers, right? We didn't care about cholesterol. We didn't care about calories. We were teenage kids. We were growing kids. So we would go to Burger King. We would go to McDonald's. We would go to all the fast food joints, right? Wendy's, right? And we would just skip out on lunch. Now, we would do this for like 30 minutes, right? Because school lunch was like for 30 minutes. And I don't think they cared, to be honest with you, because I think their attitudes were like, okay, well, as long as you're back before your next period, right? Your next class. So we did that. We did that a lot. I remember skipping out sometimes even during classes. And we would make up like some kind of crazy excuse and tell the classmate, our other classmate, oh, he had to go home because he's sick or something. And some of the teachers would buy it. But then after a while, it was like getting old, and the teachers would start catching on, and were like, okay, why is Mike not in class and stuff like that. So they caught on, right? They caught on. I want to get into now about 12th grade, right? Just about as I'm graduating high school, things are starting to get tough, right? I'm starting to get, things are getting tough, right, for me. It's like I'm almost a man. Well, at least I'm a man then, but I'm just about a man, right? And I have to start making decisions, right? Because I'm like, oh God, I'm about to graduate high school, and things are gonna get really tough for me. I have to finance. I have to write down everything in a checkbook. I have to manage my bank account. I have to go find an apartment. Oh God, college. I got to think about college, right? So everything was like literally right on my on my shoulders, right, guys? And I was like, it was really pressuring, right? Really, really pressuring. Now, mind you, all my friends were starting to pick out their college, right, where they wanted to go, the schools and everything. See if they can get in and this and that. Now, me and I think a few of my other friends, we were the only ones that really didn't go to college, right? We just picked like some random job, and we were like, okay, we're going to work here and we're going to make a life out of it for a while until we get bored, and then we'll find another job. And to be honest with you, I did that for a while, guys. I did that for a while. And it made me struggle for a while just doing all that. And I mean, I would go from job to job to job, guys. Now, I mean, I'm giving you my personal detail of my life here, okay? This is probably like the realest you'll ever get of myself here on the Patriot Angle podcast. So I would go from like job to job to job, right? I would find like random jobs, like landscaping jobs, movie theater jobs, right? I would be like shuffling popcorn. I mean, whatever it took to get $1, right? To get ahead in this world, or at least stay afloat. So I was doing this for a while, right? Up until like 10 years ago, guys. At least 10 years ago. I got into my 30s, right? And things really started blossoming for me, right? I had a daughter, which is, I mean, she's the love of my life, guys. She's my daughter. Love her to death. Do anything for her. It's my only daughter. A lot of people are like, how many kids do you have, Mike? I only have one. She's my daughter, and she's the center of my life. I love my daughter. Now, she's 14 now, and she's getting to that age now where it's like, it's the picky years. I mean, I can remember because I used to drive my mother nuts with those years. 14 to 20, I think, are the worst, guys. The worst. So good luck if you have any teenagers, right? I mean, those are the years as a parent. They're rough, guys. They're very rough because it's like, they're going through all these new stages in life, all these new changes, and you're like, oh man, I remember when I went through that. And you start feeling old, right? I mean, I'm starting to feel old, right? So, I was married. It didn't work out, guys. But, single now, and I think it's the best thing, right? I mean, I had some rocky relationships afterwards. Who doesn't? But I want to get to, like, I know I'm going through this really, really quick. I'm doing it in 2 parts, guys. But I'm trying to keep it around, like, 35, 40 minutes. So you're going to get 2 parts of this podcast here. This is part 1 tonight, okay? And then I'll do part 2 shortly after this one. So, I know I'm going through it real quick, but, if I were to do my whole life, I would have to write a book. Well, that gives me a good idea. Maybe I should write a book. But let me see how this episode does. And maybe I can feed off of this episode. Because like I said, guys, this is a unique episode. I'm not doing my typical political stuff. Which, don't get me wrong, I love doing political stuff. It's one of my passions. And I'll get into that in part 2 of how I got into the passion of podcasting. Okay? Because a lot of people are always questioning me. How did you do it, Mike? Like, how do you have the energy to talk about politics 24 hours a day? Well, it's quite easy. Anyway, so, where am I at now? I'm in my late 30s, right? I got a daughter. I got a great job, right? I love what I do. I finally found a job that I love doing, okay? Well, set aside from the podcasting, my main line of work, which I never tell my audience because it's for privacy, right? I can't tell everybody my personal stuff because then everybody's going to, know everything. I mean, not that I have to hide anything, but it's always good to, kind of hide some personal stuff. I mean, don't you agree? So, I'm finally at a point in my life where everything is going great, right? I got a great job, got a great side passion is podcasting. Everything is doing good, guys. Finally at a point. Now, before I got to the point that I'm at now, you're probably questioning, wow, it sounds like you had, the most blessed life. Well, guys, it was never like this. It was never like this. Okay, I had to bust my ass, scrap, bleed, cut to get to where I am in life. It was never like this, guys. And I believe, guys, that if you cut and bleed and bust your ass through life, you can be that somebody. A lot of people go through life always questioning themselves, always doubting themselves, never giving themselves the full credit. I think that is probably the worst thing that you can do in life, right? Always doubt yourself, never give yourself the full credit. Because everybody's destined for something in this world. It just depends on what you're destined for. You have to find that inner north, right? It's a figure of speech, guys. But you would know what I mean. You got to find that inner north of yourself. And whatever it is, everybody has a passion. Everybody has an interest. Maybe you haven't found it yet. Some people go through life trying to find it. And they never do. And when they do, they're so old, it's then they start to realize, wow, I wasted all these years. I finally found it, but I wasted all these years. Hey, it happens. Sometimes it happens to the best of us. Guys, before I close this out, because I'm going to close out part 1 here, you'll hear part 2 shortly in the week here on this double doozer of a podcast. Okay, which I decided that I think is important to do this type of podcast episode because it's given people who I truly am. And I might write a book about this one day. But until then, at least you get an episode, right? An audio episode. So, with that being said, guys, I'm going to close it out here in about a minute or two. Okay? What I'm trying to say is maybe you haven't found that passion. Maybe you haven't found that interest. Or maybe you just haven't found yourself. I can tell you what worked for me. Go through life from the beginning of it, like I did. Okay? The beginning of your life will always tell you where your life should be. I remember hearing that from my great-grandmother, God rest her soul. She would always tell me, your life always begins from when you were a little boy or a little girl. Because then, when you were a little boy and little girl, to where you are now, that will tell you what your life is supposed to be. And I think that's true. A lot of people think it's some kind of omen or something. But I think it's true. I believe in that. Guys, I want to close it out right now. I want to thank anybody who listened to the show. This is the life of Mike Gardner, myself, the host of the Patriot Angle podcast, part 1 of this episode. Later in the week, guys, you will hear part 2. Okay? But with that being said, guys, thank you for tuning in to this special podcast episode. And I invite you to listen to part 2, because part 2, guys, I get really into, how I got into the world of podcasting and what drove me to doing this, guys. You're going to want to check that out. Thank you for tuning in tonight. Thank you for listening. Please follow me on Facebook. Please follow me on Spotify, Apple, Google. Also follow me on Instagram. You can check out our website, guys, patriotanglepodcast.com. Thank you for tuning in, guys. See you on the next one. Patriot Unfiltered Raw.
You just heard an episode of the Patriot Angle Podcast, an Anchor platform.